Hey guys, welcome to another conversation on the Good Place Bench as part of the Placemaking Week Europe here in Rotterdam. And I have to admit, this is the first time I am receiving a gift all the way from Singapore from lovely Stella. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And beautiful print. I love print. And this is one of the projects back in the days.
Back in the days.
Back in the days. And today we're here to get to know more of you, Stella. You've been hosting a session here in Placemaking Week. Just introduce yourself a little bit to the audience, who you are, where you're from, and what kind of work you do.
Thank you, Robin. So, hi everyone. I'm from Singapore, and I run a placemaking studio called Shophouse and Co. And we've been around for about 12 years now.
12 years.
Yes, one of the pioneering crazy guys to start placemaking
In Singapore?
here in Singapore. When our places are very well designed, well managed, but we decided to look into the invisible, or creating good places because it's beyond the hardware. Is that we have beautiful buildings in Singapore, beautifully managed, efficiently managed buildings in Singapore. And the question is, why do we do this? Because we feel that buildings needs to have the people element, the life. Young Girl has a code, right, that is always focusing first on life and the people first before the building. So we did that 12 years ago. We haven't gone bust, thankfully. Though COVID was a challenge because we deal with people, we deal with places. And so we are a consultancy based studio here in Singapore.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you're still crazy?
I think so. I mean, I spoke to Robin earlier, who spotted me because of my shoes.
Yeah. That says enough, huh? The shoes say, that's what they say. The shoes say a lot about people. For sure. I'm intrigued. You say 12 years. Like, what's the placemaking world now in 2024 versus how it was 12 years ago in Singapore?
Yes, that was what I spoke about yesterday in my talk as well. So 12 years ago when we started, like I said, I have to explain what I do for a living. I do not come from the urban planning, architecture background. In fact, I was doing all the fun things in the younger days. I was organizing festivals. I was working for a record label based in US, and so I was doing a lot of travel. And I came back, decided to, look into things in my city, and through, I guess, a series of events, when I decided to start a placemaking studio, it came from a few reasons. One, like I mentioned earlier, about community, and back then, it was very hard to understand. So we kind of figured things out, and we're doing a lot of events, activation type of project, and so I always tell my clients now that we started from doing rather than talking first. We didn't know what placemaking truly was, the framework, and how do you measure, how do you create impact, and have the language for it. So in 2017, I came to Amsterdam for Placemaking Week Amsterdam.
Right.
Yeah, and that blew my mind. In fact, that year was very critical because we were so burnt out. Trying to get this going in Singapore, and we figured that, you know what? Maybe we should just call it quits. Nobody know what we do. People just assume placemaking it's just events, right?
Yeah.
But it goes beyond that. So we just said, you know what? We're never going to survive. Let's go back. I'll go back to doing my fun things, and my then business partner, I said, you go back to architecture or whatever you want to do. Today now, I think the scene has changed. We're very thankful. We have opportunities. So we no longer need to explain what is placemaking.
Right.
The government in Singapore, different agencies have put priorities. Policies are encouraging for placemaking initiatives to come about for the community. So it's being recognized right now as a discipline. And for Shophouse and Co, the work we do, we have gone from activation type of project to a little bit more upstream. So we've been very fortunate post-COVID that we have had the opportunity to work with some of the bigger developers in Singapore to help them develop strategies from being just a design-led type of infrastructure, design-led type of developments to place-led developments of how do you actually sustain true strategies, leading place, how do you build community who come and use your place. So in short, how to build a good place, right? Yeah.
I finally found you. I started this channel looking for that good place. And you are all about creating good places. Nice.
Serendipitous.
Interesting. Is that what you add to these projects? Is that the people community factor? Would you say?
Definitely. Every time I get a new brief, a new project, I always ask why. Why do you want to do this, right? So recently, one of my project was a retail project, retail centric, and I was like, oh, you're already at 99% occupancy, so why do you want to do placemaking, right? Singapore is very efficient. Most of our buildings are well maintained. You know, there are budgets to maintain the buildings, the public spaces beautifully. It's very clean. So why do people want to do placemaking? And it always will be able to unpack, you know, when they see something. And for me, it's to listen to what's not spoken. It's to listen to the nuances of what they're trying to do. So if they said, oh, we want more people to come through our mall or our retail spaces, I would say, why? Why is that important beyond the sales? So they will say, oh, because it's money or whatever, you know. But often, if you listen hard enough, it all boils down to, you know, people. And so the work that we do will then goes into unpacking, you know, starting from who are we reaching out, so that's beyond the personas, you know, very marketing centric. So I come from that world, right? But beyond that, it's about then how do I translate that and interface that when, say, you have the built environment team, or as well as the intersection of when the finances comes through into the picture. How do you balance that? So that's tension between these points is often what I encounter in my work, and trying to kind of like connect the dots and show that it can work. You can build a good place with a vibrant community, and it's sustainable financially in the long run, even though seemingly right now it just feels like, you know, the thing for us in Singapore is everything moves very fast, and time is money. So to get clients to come on board to understand that if you were to sow a bit of time now, that is an investment, yes, but in the long run, it will work out. You can generate the returns, yeah. So that's, for the last 12 years, is what we've been trying to advocate, trying to share through our practices as well, yeah.
And you've noticed that more people are growing into that idea and thought of addressing more the people community aspect into the project.
Yes, I think for Shophouse and Co, we operate between the intersection of not for government clients, right? So these projects then definitely community, the benefits back to people, social cohesion, you know, the intangible values. Those are very important and very key. But we also have navigated by working through with private developers or the private clients. So we have a good sensing for both. Fundamentally, yes, in Singapore, it has grown quite a bit right now in such a way that, yeah, definitely the people element is very important. In fact, I didn't get a chance to share this in my talk yesterday. Yeah, because time was very tight. But I was going to show and demonstrate that from the government agencies, you know, on their website, or for example, Singapore Tourism Board, there's a page on placemaking. You know, on the heritage industries, they're talking about placemaking. For arts, same, you know, arts and culture and placemaking, as we have heard this whole week, it's so critical.
building bridges.
Yes, building bridges, conversations, activating, animating the city, right? Beyond just the hardware, the architecture part of it. So, of course, the architecture, planning, urban design, architecture words, definitely, this is their language. They understood, they design buildings for people. But that's when the in between, right? When you get into the project, when an architect's have to design, we see many design-led buildings in Singapore where perhaps a star architect is being commissioned to design a building, and often sometimes that direction gets shifted. When you have design-led, it's great, And in Singapore now, I don't know if Europe is the same thing, but in Singapore, Instagram worthy restaurants, Instagram worthy cafes draw people. So you get everything very hipster cafe because people come in hyped up because it's great for business. I mean, people come in, they come in, they don't eat first. The cameras will take the photo of the food, the restaurants and everything. In Asia, it's very very crazy. The phones are everywhere. I don't see that so much in Europe. But they're over in Asia. Phone is our connecting factor. So all these factors comes into play in how you shape your design in a city, in a place. So we use that not as a negative thing, but we use that as a tool because there's also enough data to tell us what's happening. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting conversation about hype and trend. I mean, here as well that if something blows up on TikTok, a shop, then there's suddenly queues, but it doesn't say anything about the quality of food. It's just hype. So what we're as well creating is we're all trying to create things that are lasting and here to stay, right? I mean, not just to be a hype and then be forgotten the next year. How do you, especially then perhaps in Singapore, how do you get around that? Within your ideas and creativity.
I think that's why the objective is very important. A lot of our projects that we've been embarking on or we've been involved in are not for the now. Like one of the projects that we've been working on for 2 years will probably get completed in 2030. Last year we were involved in a project for one of the universities in Singapore, and this project look into developing the vision and the strategies, placemaking strategies for them, which led to an exercise that's called for the built environment guys, the architects, and all to come in later to develop the master plan. But the visioning exercise then look into, by the time the project's completed, that's what, 2030? Because 2 MRT stations is being constructed now. This is located really far away, the other end of Singapore. So we cannot just rely on hype or something that is short term. However, what it tells me is that it is very important to look at what's trending too, because these are social behavior, this is culture. So we have a research methodology in our studio where we embark on projects where we study trends, or rather more, instead of just trends, we study behavior. We go out, we map, we observe, we study behavior and couple with desktop research to get us data that informed our work. And this usually will be tying back to my client's vision, the objective. Sometimes they think their objective is the outcome. And that what they want now will be the outcome. And often I have to bring them through an exercise to say objectives has to be established. Outcomes is a very different thing. Yeah, but if you don't have objectives, that's another question altogether. And most of them sometimes don't.
Yeah. Because if you don't keep your objectives, you will never get the result that you want. Yeah. Interesting, yeah. And how has Placemaking Week served you so far? You've been quite sometimes attending Placemaking Week. What's your been experience here in Rotterdam so far?
Oh, I love Rotterdam. This whole week I was just... I first came to Rotterdam maybe about 25 years ago. And I met a friend because she was living in Rotterdam. And then I said to her, and I caught it up with her recently as well, 2 nights ago. I said, I don't recognize Rotterdam 25 years ago to now. And she says, yes, I don't recognize it sometimes too. I think Rotterdam has changed quite a bit. I don't remember it to be so open, so welcoming, and a very hands-on city. I think earlier there was the handing over ceremony, and I thought it was so poignant and so significant. Where who was that guy? I can't remember who he was. He handed over. He's probably the organizer.
From the municipality, I think.
Yes, from the municipality, and what he did was, oh, is that off? Okay, and what he did was he handed over a rolled up shirt. And I thought it was so significant because that's exactly what I experienced this whole week. You get,
Getting to work.
yeah, like just shut up, stop talking, and get to work. And
Hence the slogan, make it happen.
make it happen, yes. And I think Rotterdam really encapsulates that. In whenever I was going around this whole week, the people I meet, they're so friendly. So 7 years ago, I was in Amsterdam, and I think the whole Netherlands has this effect. It's something very special, and once again, I feel very refreshed. I feel very inspired after a whole week of hearing wonderful sharings. What's happening around the world in Rotterdam, in the rest of Europe. So great job. Thank you for organizing a great session.
Well, I mean, thanks to Placemaking Europe for, of course, hosting this. Um, yeah, and I think I really love also the international character of it. I mean, just had a conversation with someone from Sydney, LA, San Francisco, Singapore. So yeah, it's nice to see how the world comes together around this topic.
I love your project idea.
Well, there we go. That was actually the next question. Is that what do you think of this Good Place bench?
I loved it. In fact, I think it should maybe come to Singapore, huh? What do you think? Well, how can we bring this? Now, the thing is, why I love it because I think public seats is urban furniture. In Singapore, they definitely practice that. In fact, projects I've been working on talk a lot about that, about benches in public spaces. We have had a project where my client had people drawing and designing benches as a competition sort of thing, and in doing that, raising funds at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, and then these are then placed in the various public spaces. It's actually a science park, so they placed it there. So we have initiatives like that. But I think what I love about your idea is what is it say again? Good places, good bench, good place. Yeah, and it starts from that, right? The whole idea of how you facilitate conversation when there is a good bench or urban sitting program, it catalyzes conversation like what we're doing now. But it also allows stories to really be able to be able to draw it out. And we did a project like that similar in Singapore called Podscape. You can check it out on our social media at Shophouse Co, where we designed a podcast recording like a recording studio that goes out into neighborhood. It's called Podscape.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we actually go. I mean, you can record podcasts anywhere, but we brought it out, and it looks like a little mignon house. It's all yellow. I have the end caps that could be, broken apart, and we had a recording studio that's in there. And this was before COVID. Unfortunately, during COVID, we couldn't go out. But these are the great projects that I really, really love as well. Yeah, the bench projects and things like that. Yeah.
But cool. I'm definitely gonna check it out because that's super interesting. Nobody sees the camera. That's they just keep on walking. That's okay. It's cute and small. Well, cool. But I mean, I'm happy to bring the Good Place concept to Singapore and modulate it there and but also test it out. But you said also something that in Singapore it's different because. People also spend more time indoors than outdoors, right?
Yes, that's right. I think this is something that is, I guess, the reverse of in Europe, right? In Singapore, it's very hot. We're very humid, very hot. It's getting hotter every year. Sometimes just before I came over, I think it was something like 37, 38 degrees. So it's very, very unbearable with the humidity. Yeah. So people in Singapore from any time 10, 11 in the morning or through to 4 or 5 o'clock, you don't really see them hanging out in parks or open areas. so they don't tend to sit out, right? They go into the malls where there's air conditioned. So actually, shopping malls or anywhere that's air conditioned are basically like a public space. Yeah, so the retail malls are functioning like a public space, but they have very little benches or seats. The irony, because they want you to spend money, right? At a cafe and things. Like, why are you sitting and resting? You should go and shop or eat and money, right? That, however, is changing with the newer projects also in place because the policies then stepped in and urban design guidelines will, request or ask for seats to be placed for public to enjoy. So yes, that's true. But then I think it can still happen. It's not just a matter about it being too hot or anything like that, but it's about how you design, right? So you have urban design when there's shade being created. For example, between two buildings, you can create a corridor, like a wind flow. So there are always solutions for that.
Stella, I think we're gonna brainstorm around this. What could work? Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up a bit.
Sure.
I do think I would love to have a podcast episode in full in Singapore one day. I would be pleased to have you on that channel. To wrap it up, last question is really what is to you a good place? And of course, whether you are in a good place, but what is a good place for you that you like to share with people?
This is a very difficult question, Robin. Well, if I put on my professional hat, right, a good place is one where it just draws people naturally. That people just gravitate to it without knowing why they gravitate to it.
Right.
So when that happens, then you have a good place. Because the work behind it is, quite extensive. But personally, for me, a good place, I love places when I travel. I think a good place should have books. Yes, magazines, books, printed materials. So I gravitate to visiting bookstores or magazine stores in different cities just to get an understanding. It should be supported with energy that comes from the creative community. So be it arts, be it design, be it culture. These are very, very important things to activate the energy of a city. So that, to me, these two factors, and of course a dozen others, but this two is very, very important. Yeah, make it a good place. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, Stella, thank you. You have to thank you for your time and sharing so much about your work and inspiration. And I very much like what you do. The people, the community, the creative part in it reflects in your work, and it's very joyful. So I take a lot of inspiration for it, and I'm definitely gonna be in touch with you.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
All right. Have enjoy the last day,
Yes.
and everyone watching. Until the next one.
Until the next one.
Ciao.